mic'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up, and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there. He's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochinko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team.
6 minutes.
For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochinko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her and I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Good show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Mic'd Up. Today is Monday, December 4th. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I did. Came back from New York.
Big city.
Bright and early this morning. Had a nice little weekend trip with the wife. We enjoyed it. We went to shop. It was raining on Friday, raining on Sunday. Not ideal. Not raining on Saturday, so we took full advantage of that. Obviously went around, saw some different things. Spent more money than we probably wanted to spend on everything. Dinner, drinks, lunch, shopping, the whole deal.
It's pretty cheap.
Oh yeah. New York's very affordable. Very affordable place. But we enjoyed it. Obviously, we went to a play on Sunday, which is great. Is there anything? This is a question for the group. Before we really get into sports, is there anything worse than going to like a movie or a play or a stand-up or whatever show, and the person next to you having a very annoying laugh?
Oh, a cat.
Especially if something is supposed to be funny, and you have to listen to them cackle in your ear the whole time.
You shouldn't talk about your wife that way.
It ruined the whole thing for you. 'Cause then you start to focus on that.
My wife was next to me, has a great laugh. It was not her. The person next to me, never met him, not a great laugh. And it was the Book of Mormon. It was very funny, and so like it was like genuine, real belly laughs. This guy was cackling a little bit. I didn't enjoy it.
Have you seen there was somebody doing stand-up and the person like laughed like really hard like at every joke, and he's like, I appreciate it. I love everything you're doing. You're making this so hard for me right now.
Who was that? I remember seeing that clip.
Chris whatever. Not
Yeah,
Chris
Delia?
No. We don't talk about him.
I saw him in New Orleans. He's actually funny.
Did you add him on Snapchat?
This is after that. This is after everything else. It was after all that.
Oh, you forgive him?
I mean, I didn't know anything about it.
Neither did
until,
he.
I didn't know anything about the situation that he got himself into until after, which the
Snapchats were deleted.
Yeah, there's a situation going on right now in the NBA. Similar stuff. Not great.
Oh, yeah.
Not great.
They're compromising.
Not great. We're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about the other sports that people are really interested in. Obviously, the college football playoff made their decision. Final 4 teams. A lot of people are unhappy. A lot of people are up in arms. A lot of people feel like they've been wronged and feel like it was unfair. Do I believe that these teams have a case? Absolutely. Do I think that they got it mostly right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Mostly right. Like, I think that if you said, okay, here's the top 6 teams, who do you think is the best team? I think you would have Georgia in that scenario. But I understand why in this season the committee said, okay, we're going to put all the champions except for the ACC because, hey, right now, congratulations, you had a great season. You overcame a lot of adversity. Your starting quarterback, who has been there and who's been a pillar of your team for 4 years, 5 years, he got hurt. If he was there, you would have been in. He is not there. You are not in. Yes, you had an undefeated season. You won the ACC. All of that is important, but they looked at the whole body of work, and they looked at, hey, what is this team like without him? And you saw against Louisville and against Florida and against those teams, they're not great. You didn't even have your second-string quarterback against Louisville. Now some would say, well, that should give them more bonus points because they won a championship game without their first or second-string quarterbacks. Yes, I agree. But you are now playing Louisville. You're playing Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Washington, all of these types of teams. So it's a little bit different competition. It sucks for Florida State because I feel like they have earned it if their quarterback was there. Now Georgia, I think, has a big gripe as well, right? They've been the number 1 team in the country for 3 years, basically, defending national champions, back-to-back national champions. They've lost 2 games in 2 years.
And 43 attempts.
And 40, yeah. No, they're 45 and 46 in the last 45 and 1.
41 and 40. They're 41 and 2 in their last 43 games.
That's what it is. Okay. And the 2 losses were to Alabama in the SEC championship.
One of them they came back and avenged.
Yes,
in the national championship.
So
that's why I think that they didn't put Georgia in there.
No doubt.
It was going to be Alabama, Georgia again.
That's 100%.
No doubt.
Yeah. Sorry about it.
Unless you put them at 2-3 and make them play, but you don't want a rematch already in the semifinal game. You already had that in the SEC championship. So
SEC is a victim of its own success.
Right.
Yeah. You want to know the sad part about it though, which they've really kept this one under wraps. Anybody remember what happened in Ann Arbor? No, I lie. It was in Columbus last year. It was Michigan at Ohio State, 3-4. Michigan beat Ohio State 45-23.
Yep.
And what happened 2 weeks later?
They both ran.
They were both in.
Yeah. No doubt.
Somehow, the number 1 team for the last 3 years loses by 3.
Right.
And they get dropped all the way down to
To a
6.
playoff team.
To 6.
I think
team.
part of that reason was one, you've seen too much. They've seen, not we. They have seen too much Alabama, Georgia. Right.
They haven't
it's
seen
the same
enough
thing
LSU.
over and over and over again.
It's the SEC.
No doubt.
The rest of the
Right?
country hates us.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's just because they're kind of jealous of the success, right? I think that was one issue. I think the second issue was this the last year of the playoff, or last year of the 4-team playoff, and hey, we're going to have a Pac-12 team in there, which Washington obviously deserved it. They did what they needed to do, and they played their way in there. And then you have Michigan, right? Michigan's kind of in that spot where they're in the Big Ten. So now you have most of the conferences covered. You have the Big 12 for the first time, and Texas the first time ever. Right, so you have all these storylines. Last time in the playoff, I think there's a lot of storylines that they said, okay, this is really good. And then you have some controversy, which also gives momentum to the 12-team playoff going into next year. I think they got it mostly right. I think it was a no-win situation for the committee. There wasn't a way for them to say, hey, this is the teams that are going to be in there and everybody be happy. That's impossible. That is why you're going to have a 12-team playoff, which there will still be some people upset with the 12-team playoff, but not as many, and not saying – having 4 teams is ludicrous anyway, right? It's not a playoff. That's not a playoff.
Well, it's even more ludicrous when you have 4 teams in a Power 5
In a power,
conference.
yeah. That's
Theoretically, you're
that
setting
is
yourself up
the worst part
for
of it.
this. At least somewhere down the line,
All
this was
five-
going to happen.
all-
Yeah.
There's a team from all 5 conferences go undefeated and win the championship. Who's in, right? Like, you've set yourself up.
All of them
for
got
that.
one loss. Who's in? Like,
Right.
what
You set
how do
yourself
you do it?
up. You set yourself up for some
Thank God Jordan
controversy,
Travis
right?
broke his leg.
Absolutely.
This is the last year
Yes.
of that, right? 12-team playoff. We're really looking forward to that. LSU is going to play Wisconsin in the what's the name of the bowl? Formerly known as the Outback Bowl. ReliaQuest Bowl. We appreciate Keith Ricardo from the G team in here with his knowledge, his wealth of knowledge. We have a new setup. We're always making additions to the show. The ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, formerly known as the Outback Bowl, against Wisconsin. Some people say, "Oh, bowl games don't matter." Look, 10 wins matters. Having your potential starting quarterback for next year playing matters, right? Nussmeier's going to get the start. There's a lot of things happening in the portal. What?
You don't know that yet.
I don't know. Okay, I would presume. I mean, that's a good. I presume Nuss will get the start because
Breaking news.
I'm not breaking any news. I've learned my lesson. I learned my lesson. Because I don't think
He's playing now.
Yeah.
0-1.
Yeah.
that
was a big one. That was a big one. I presume that Nuss will be the starter because I don't think Jaden will play in the bowl game. I don't think there's anything for him to play for. Speaking of Jaden, the finalist of the Heisman Trophy has come out. It is a 4-man race.
Is it?
I think it's a 1-man race, but it's 4 men that are going to be there. 4 young men are going to be there, going to enjoy their time in New York. They're going to enjoy their time getting brand new custom suits and all this stuff. It's going to be Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix,
They've been doing that all
Michael
year, Coach.
Penix. Yeah, they've been doing right. Michael Penix and
Back in my day.
the one that really is going to
Swing the votes.
yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. somehow finagled his way into the New York ceremony, which if you look at the numbers, he is not even the top 3
Just make it
receiver.
make sense.
Doesn't make sense, but he's there, right? I think it's a 1-man race. Obviously, I think Jaden's going to bring the hardware back to Baton Rouge. I think there's going to be a lot of awards being won here in Baton Rouge. What sucks for Malik is Marvin Harrison is there, which means he's probably going to win the Blitnikoff, which sucks and is bullshit because he shouldn't. I think Malik should definitely win it. But the fact that they invited him there makes me feel like he is going to be the Blitnikoff winner. Political, probably award for him, right?
Big Bo
Hey,
Nix.
you've done it for 3 years. You're really good. We had all this
Lifetime
hype. You're going to be a
achievement.
top 5 pick. Boom. Yep. Even though the
Maserati
guy
Marv.
that you're going to beat, or the 2 guys you're going to beat are also going to be top 10 picks as well.
You think his dad goes?
I bet you his dad goes. I would imagine. You got some, you're snidey you wanted to say, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm scared of him.
His dad?
Yeah.
Murderer.
Sound like killer.
Don't cross him.
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
The Heisman portal. The transfer Heisman.
Technically.
I guess you could call it the Heisman portal.
LSU.
I guess you could call it the Heisman portal. LSU's gonna have 2, both from the
portal. Well,
first one wasn't the portal, but transfers. The portal is heating up. If you've, we talked about this a little bit before A&M. You'd imagine you're going to see some of this, and a lot of guys are starting to put their name in the portal, and you're starting to see some conversations and some comments about what was promised and what was delivered, and they don't really equal and add up. You're going to see a lot of guys from Ohio State in the portal, which has been very, if I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan, that's alarming. We're going to get into all of that. Obviously, today is Monday, which means we have the G team, Keith Ricardo from the G team here, educating us on the law. We also have the Moffitt Method Mondays today. Tommy Moffitt is coming in. I am in week 2 of the Moffitt Method. I just got back in from New York, so I had to miss today, but I'm going to move everything down. I'm going Monday on Tuesday tomorrow, and then we're going to have a Saturday workout, and we're going to really get back going. So it's going to be good. I was sore. I feel like I was a freshman in college again.
Chili?
Not great. Not great, Pop. Like, I talking about, I struggled getting out of the bed on Friday.
What about the commode? How was that for
Ooh,
you?
that was not good either. That was not good. Getting down and getting up, not ideal.
You gotta really center.
You gotta get the first couple weeks out, and that's it. I felt really good about myself. Had a lot more energy. Had a lot more. I felt like I was training for something again, which is what was the whole goal of this thing. So
Get Keith Ricardo in there.
Looking forward to 6:15 a.m. He's driving from New Orleans. That's early for him.
Yeah.
It's very early for him to get in
It's pretty
there.
early.
Yeah.
No, he's a hunter.
But got a lot to talk about. We have some LSU baseball conversations too. Kendall Rogers spoke with Jay Johnson. And Jay kind of, if the season started today, Jay basically gave him what the lineup would be right now. And, some surprising guys that he had named in there. I think one, obviously Pearson, the rumor of him moving to second base. It seems like that is a real deal. He'll be the second baseman, probably. I'm going to need you to open the door for Coach.
I'm just going to knock it down.
And Jake Brown, freshman outfielder / pitcher, feels like he's kind of earned his way to a starting role in the outfield. And, some of the transfers, the Braswell kid at shortstop. So they are going to have a pretty stacked lineup. I think their lineup is going to get better over time. We'll get into all of that. But before we really get into the nuts and bolts of LSU, of the transfer portal, of recruiting, because recruiting, the first signing day, or I guess signing day, they like to call it early signing day, but really signing day Friday, and then
early signing day with the portal officially opened.
Yeah, well, they can enter. Yeah, right. The 30-day window opened. So
legal tampering period.
A lot of action happening. Look, on Wednesday it's Ask Mikey and Mitch. On Wednesday we're going to add our friend Bryce Kuhn to the show, who is right in the middle of this recruiting transfer situation. So if you have questions for me and Jared, great. Add him into the chat.
And he's going to be
Twitter.
a dad.
Huh?
He's going to be a dad.
And he's going to be a dad. We can congratulate him, maybe give him some cigars. That's the thing, right? I think you have to be after they're born, right? I think that's.
He can smoke. She can't.
No, I know, but like I think
tradition.
you don't want to like jinx it. It's a tradition when they're born. You're the baby. You give them a cigar, whole deal, right? He'll be on Wednesday. Ask
Smoking
questions.
in the lobby.
Put him on Twitter. Put him on social media. Put him in the chat. Ask me and Jerry questions, and we're gonna have anything you want in the recruiting realm as well. Let's get to you, Keith. Welcome. LSU obviously off this weekend. LSU football as a whole, Jaden Daniels won even without playing. Obviously, you saw the SEC championship game. You see the Big 12 championship game, or the Pac-12 championship game, actually all of them. But the Pac-12 was the one that was really interesting because Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels were kind of going neck and neck. And, Bo Nix kind of helped Jaden Daniels out by not having this super stellar game.
I was so proud of Bo for that.
You jinxed him. That was good for you. That was good. Good by you.
Thank you.
What did you see, obviously, this weekend? Obviously, it's a huge thing for LSU to get another Heisman winner. And I don't think it was a question as who should win the Heisman. But watching that game, it's pretty clear that Jaden's the best player in the country.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone had any doubts whatsoever, I think that should have cleared it up for him.
No doubt.
I mean, that's all there is to say about that.
And then you have some other football. Georgia, Alabama was a doozy, right? Good game. Obviously Alabama knocks Georgia out of the playoff, which I think is a little controversial. But Alabama makes it as the 4th seed, which did you see Michigan's reaction?
Not happy.
Wow.
I mean,
Coach
did not
almost like they feel like they got knocked out of the playoff. They're the 1 seed.
I would be embarrassed if I was
we have
them
to
and
play
that was
Alabama.
public.
That means you think you're.
I would be
I'm kind of
embarrassed.
mind blown at how open they were about thinking that they really thought they were 100% sold that they were getting Florida State.
Right.
Because they were way too unhappy when they heard
Like,
Alabama
what was
come
it in
out.
their head that made them think that?
That it was for sure. Like they were so sure the other way.
Right.
That's what you call wishful thinking. Like,
And look, people
do the right thing. Put
People
Florida
say
State
you gotta
in.
look at the money. Obviously, SEC brings in more money. Like all that stuff is true. Get it.
It's not like Florida State doesn't bring in
At the end
a
of
lot
the
of
day,
money. Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you're being honest, you can't tell me you watch college football this year, and you can tell me that Georgia or Alabama, one of the two, if not both, are the top 4 teams in the country.
See,
you can't tell me.
Yeah.
See, but here's my gripe with that whole thing. I just don't understand when this conference has won 13 of the last 17 national championships, that quote unquote bias that people are trying to run that narrative, it's earned at this point.
It's earned. It's real.
It's earned because it's real at this point. So when you sit here and say that they just want to put an SEC team in there, or when you have a committee who's going to have to make a decision, there should be a bias towards a undefeated and or one-loss team from this conference based off the history. And it's really that simple.
Right.
It's
No
unbelievable to me that you try to spin it any other – there's no other way to spin it.
Because
100%.
Texas gets the credit for beating Alabama, but Georgia gets all of the blame for losing to Alabama. If you flip when the games happened, Georgia's in the playoff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just recency bias.
Yep, for sure. Well, and look, I agree with Alabama being there. I also think Georgia should.
So I'm saying if they
The
lost week
champion of
2
the SEC has to be in, right? Unless
Right.
they have 3 losses or 4 losses, but like
or 2,
who?
LSU back in the day.
Well, they didn't. They didn't. I
They
mean,
got
that
in.
was
Well, it
that was
was
not the
playoff.
playoff.
Yeah.
That was BCS. That was the computers.
Crunch those numbers.
So, which is crazy. They still have the BCS website that like crunches all these numbers on like who would be there. Do you think they got it right?
I mean, this has got to be one of the closest, most controversial picks
Perfect
that,
way to get
that
to
you
the
could
playoffs.
have. You know, I mean, do I think they got it right? I mean, I want to say no because I think both the SEC teams deserve to be there, first of all. And then if you're Florida State, like, what more do you have to prove?
Right.
You know, and I get it. Like, you're not playing with your starting quarterback in that. But like you talked about earlier, that should give you that extra kick. Like, look, not only can we win with him, we can still win
Right.
without
But
him.
here's my question to that: who do they replace?
No, and that's, you know,
know what I
that's
mean?
why this is so controversial, because who do you replace?
Because if you put Florida State up right now as it stands against the 4 teams in there, plus look, you're gonna watch them play Georgia in the bowl game, right?
Yeah.
So if you put them up against the 4 teams in there right now as it stands with Florida State, do you think that they win any of those 4 games?
Yeah, I think they could win.
Which one? What teams do you think they could beat? I don't.
I think there's one team that they could beat now.
Michigan.
Michigan,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is the number
Yeah.
1 team in the country, which is crazy to me. But
Do you know what the BCS has us there for? If it were,
what is it?
it is Michigan is the 1 seed. It is
Should be something outrageous, isn't it?
Washington is the 2 seed. No, they got it right. Alabama is the 3, and Florida State would be the 4 seed
Oh,
because
so they didn't get it right. So Texas would have been left out.
Texas would have been left out.
Wow.
But Florida State, I mean, they're
Florida
undefeated
State
conference
goes
champ.
Florida State goes and beats Georgia. They do the whole UCF thing. Hey, we're gonna claim ourselves as national
Hang
champions.
the banner.
No, I bet you they do it.
Oh, those memes already started coming
I
out
bet you they
today.
do it. You know who doesn't get it wrong, gets it right, is the G team.
Yes,
Y'all
indeed.
get it right, and you've been educating us throughout the course of these last few months on some of the law, on some of the nuances of how these claims and how some of these incidences that may happen in real life, how they occur, and what goes behind the scenes of them. Today you have something we haven't talked about, but it's something that is very near and dear to the hearts of a lot of people here that are born and raised in Louisiana, and that is what?
So this is injuries that happen on the water. You know, when you talk about nuances of the law, injuries that happen on the water is a very nuanced area of it. There's a lot of particulars and complications that happen when someone's injured on the water. So when you are hurt on the water, your rights tend to differ depending on what you're classified as in that moment as compared to if you were injured on land. So, for example, if you're a worker on a vessel or a boat and you're injured on the water, you know, your rights are going to differ as compared to if you were injured on land. Or, you know, if you're a recreational boater, your rights are going to differ as compared to if you were a worker at the time.
Right.
And not only do those rights differ just because you were on the water, but your rights to recovery can also differ depending on what type of body of water
That's what
you
I'm
were
about to
on.
ask.
Maritime law.
For instance, if you're on False River,
Right.
compared to if you're in the Gulf of Mexico.
Big difference on your rights to recovery. And that's because False River is not considered what we know as a navigable waterway. You know, again, like personally a case that I dealt with in the past, there was an injury that occurred at a boat dealership. You know, this boat dealership had a man-made lake built. We had 2 boats coming around an island. They hit each other in a head-on collision.
Oh.
Okay? It was
Wow.
pretty serious injuries. Those boaters are going to have different rights as compared to someone that's hurt at the mouth of the Mississippi River.
And why is that?
Because that man-made lake is what we consider a non-navigable waterway. But the Mississippi River is something that we consider a navigable waterway. So your rights differ in those aspects.
So if something were to happen, right, on the water, right, and you wanted to file suit or make a claim, and they called the G team, how long do they have? Is it a year? Is it a year? Or is it depending? It's kind of does it get a little tricky.
So it's typically the year, but again, maritime law and injuries on the water, they do differ, depending on the circumstances.
So if something
and
were
where
to
you're
happen
injured.
on the water and you aren't sure, give you guys a call.
Absolutely.
The G team at 225-888-8888. I'm locked in today, boys.
Yes, indeed.
And if you have any questions about that, or you're not sure if, hey, am I in the range of what would be the correct legalese?
Yeah, so if it's a state claim within that prescription
Yep.
date
If
or
you're in that
statute
time
of
frame,
limitations
yeah,
is
there you
typically
go.
what
There you
people
go.
know it as.
Yeah, statute of limits. If you're in that range, they'll let you know. They will direct you. They will let you tell you where to go and how to go about this. They have a lot of experience in these types of cases and really all types of cases. So give the G team a shout. 225-888-8888.
So you can't. So Rose can't call from the Titanic, the North Atlantic, like statute of limitations.
She can give us a shout, but I think that is passed. I don't know.
Well, it seems like the time limit on that thing is
Yeah. The location, we're good. Time limit, probably not.
Yeah, statute of limitations probably is not. I think that's exhausted. But at the time, she got on there, she probably had a hefty payday.
Class action lawsuit.
She had a hammer claim. There's no doubt.
The G team wouldn't be
She had
happy
a big
about that, I
claim.
imagine that one. Yeah, that was.
We'd have got Rose paid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I got a lot of people paid in that one.
Yeah.
People may have gotten paid on it. I don't know. I don't know if there's any type of thing. I don't know how that would happen, but
she should have brought her Xbox controller.
So, moral of the story, Lloyd, is like before you go and do something stupid on like maybe Falls River or somewhere, Tchefuncta, any of that. Oh, Tchefuncta is navigable.
Tchefuncta is a navigable water.
Right. So make sure if you're gonna get hurt somewhere, make sure you know where to get hurt.
I don't drive the
Just
boat.
don't get hurt.
I don't drive the boat.
Yeah, but you still can get hurt. Doesn't mean just because you're not driving doesn't mean you can't.
I'm just saying I'm not liable for whatever happens. I wasn't driving. I could still
No, but
get hurt.
somebody could be liable for hurting you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Boat to boat.
So
we'll get you taken care of.
Please
that
don't
happens.
let Lloyd behind. Don't let him drive.
No. It's hard enough to have you behind a wheel, but of a
You've
car.
seen it. That was
I don't
your
want you
fault.
behind. I don't want you steering a boat. Not captain of a ship.
Yeah.
No, sir.
New dad.
What?
I'm a new dad. I can't be.
Cat. You're a cat dad. We're
Cat
against
dad.
that. We're against that.
Big move.
You have a heart. Your heart grew 10 sizes that day.
It did.
You're normally the Grinch, but this cat needed a home
Needed a
where it
father
was
figure.
or it needed a home where it was going to cat heaven. And
See, all
Lloyd,
dogs go to heaven. I don't know about
yeah,
cats.
Lloyd stepped up and housed this cat.
What a guy.
I'm the dad that stepped up.
Yep, you are.
Christmas spirit, actually. Look at you.
You are. So I'm happy for you. I'm proud that you have a heart and that you are compassionate. Keith, I appreciate you for joining in. We're gonna continue to have you as long as you want to be on here and talk about the playoffs, and then we're gonna get Coach Tommy Moffitt on here. It's the Moffitt Method Monday. We're ready. Appreciate you, dude.
Appreciate
you.
y'all.
He's not sure.
I'll tell you what, I was sore. I'm not now. I gotta move everything back a day because I just got back in from New York. So Monday.
He did that on purpose, by the way.
I know. That's what he's talking about, linebacker. He's
Based off your old stuff,
Let him know.
I know we don't test guys on this.
You like our new setup?
Yes, I like the new.
It's a little bit better, kind of hidden away.
Yeah, I like it.
Hey, you had me sore as shit last week.
That's good.
I couldn't take a shit.
That's good.
I got
They know it works.
like sitting down,
That's how we do it.
sitting down and standing up. Not great.
Yeah.
But I got back in from New York today, so I didn't get to do my Monday workout, but I'm gonna do a Monday, Tuesday, and then my Friday will be Saturday. Just push it back.
Yeah. Well, let me
a
ask
day.
you this: did you do anything while you were away? Like any stretching, mobility work, cardio?
Coach, I in New York,
right
I
here.
doing a lot of
12-ounce
Did a little bit of curls.
Couple hands.
so a lot of forks going in the mouth with some Italian food.
Carb heavy?
Yeah, it was
Yeah. Well, I mean that helps you
a
grow.
lot of walking though.
Yeah.
We walked a lot in New York,
All
so
right.
that's got to help a little bit.
All right.
Where
all
dreams
right.
are made of.
We got a rule here.
Uh-huh.
Next time you got to do some mobility stuff. Just
Okay.
get in the floor. You
Okay.
know, do some flow.
Okay, some flow. Got it. Like just some stretching.
It's a great pitch.
Yeah, some
for
stretch.
Allie.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can do that. Appreciate you coming back on the show.
Good,
As always.
good.
I love the Moffitt Method Mondays. We're gonna figure this thing out. I know y'all are over there.
My
I may
dog
need
right
to-
there,
That's
Jay
it.
Mitch.
Oh, thanks,
Way
me.
back like 2 flats on a cat.
Hey, I like it that he's right in front of
You
me.
like
here,
that?
too,
Okay, y'all
yeah.
can make eye contact. I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
good. As long as y'all like it, I like it.
Yeah. I like it.
Obviously, LSU didn't have a game this weekend. A lot of football been played.
Yeah.
No football game here at LSU. But LSU was in the conversation a lot for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, they're part of the SEC, so you had the SEC championship happen with Alabama beating Georgia, knocking Georgia out of the playoffs, came out with the playoffs, and then you watch Bo Nix and Oregon play against Washington. Great game, right? Great for Jaden, because it seems like Bo Nix kind of pushed himself in the second, third slot of the Heisman race. So LSU was in a lot of conversation, even though they weren't playing. As a football fan, how do you enjoy? Do you like championship weekends? I mean, it's got to be one of the better weekends of the year for you.
Yeah. The weekend before last, when they had the border games, we talked about it. That I like that one. Rivalry, whatever.
Weekend.
Yeah, I like that. But starting with the Oregon and Washington game, I really thought both of those two teams stepped it up a little bit. They're not the Pac whatever anymore.
Pac-2 now.
Pac-2, I think they stepped it up. The effort, the quality of play, the toughness was exhibited. I thought that was really good. Another good game was Boise State, man.
Yeah.
That was a great game. Boise State played.
Interim head coach.
Yeah, interim head coach. So I heard today he got the job.
It seems like, they were 7-5 and ended up curb stomping. Who'd they play?
I don't even know now. You
was it San Diego State or
they came out and stomped a horse.
UNLV.
Yeah, UNLV. They came out and wore them out. I couldn't figure out, and I didn't know that the coach had been fired. I didn't know that. And then I was like, holy mackerel, what did they fire this guy for? It had to have been something other than not coaching.
Right.
Because that team looked good. They looked well prepared. And then Texas, I thought Texas played really good.
We are.
They said we are going to the SEC is what they said.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, we're ready.
They played
well.
Yeah.
You can't. There's nothing you can take away from them. With the way they played throughout the year and the way they made a statement in a time where they say, "Hey, lights are bright. Make sure that you leave no doubt." They left no doubt.
They left no doubt. And they got on Okie State.
Sarkisian's done a really good job over there.
Yeah,
he restocked them. I know it's Texas and it's not that hard to recruit, but they've struggled for a while getting those guys there.
It's not even. There's no comparison. To the old Texas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And and I think he's modernized the game. I don't think you can do the stuff that he learned to do when he was at Alabama at SC. It's different. But at Texas, they have the resources and they have the passion. They want to be great, and I think they allowed him to develop an SEC type organization.
Well, I want to ask you about that, right? Because me and Jared talked about this too before, right? So you go look at a lot of these Pac-12 wide receivers, or even Big 12 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you got some that are really good, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, all these guys, like some of these like one or two guys that are really good. But then for the most part,
Justin Blackman.
A lot of these, that's a good example, right? A lot of these guys that are putting up these absurd numbers in college, and they look the part. They get to the NFL, and they don't really translate because they don't really know how to run the route tree. The scheme that they played in wasn't right? In the SEC, I think people kind of overlook that, right? Hey, you have these talented wide receivers, you have these talented players, but they're playing in an NFL-style scheme, right? You're going up against really good talent, but you're also in a scheme to where you get to the NFL, you understand how to go. That's why you see guys who are drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and maybe you're the 4th receiver in school, end up having these long careers because they've grown up in the scheme. How important is that?
All right, the best example is James Wright.
I see what I was gonna say.
James Wright never caught a ball here, and
played like 8 years in the NFL.
Got paid $1 million a year to play in the NFL.
All right,
and he never caught a ball here at LSU. So that's my best example. It is true. The game now. So you have all of the analysts. You have senior analysts. So I was talking to a coach today who he has a senior analyst who has 20 years of head coaching experience that sits with him all day long, and they bounce stuff off. The gentleman's much older than the head coach, but he's got more experience of being a head coach, and they just sit and bounce stuff off. So whether it's in the training room, the equipment room, the weight room, offense, defense, even special teams. So for us, well, when I was at Miami, we had 2 grad assistants, and that was it. It was Mario Cristobal and Philip Banco, and that was it. And it was our staff. So now, just on special teams, you'll have a minimum of 3 people that are just doing special teams. So you have your special teams coordinator, and then you have an analyst, and then a junior analyst. So you'll have at least 3 people. When you played, we had 1 guy that did special teams. Now you
Bradley
have the-
Dale?
BDP.
Bradley
Yeah.
Dale,
The whole
Pivotal?
time, yeah.
Did you? What was Joe Robb here when you were here?
My last year, yeah.
Yeah. So, so the organization is just so much bigger. You have so much more help. Like even in recruiting, you know, a lot of schools, the coaches are actively breaking down film, doing all the scouting and drawing cards and all of that stuff.
Signaling
Whereas-
plays.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing: you got to draw cards. The script doesn't come out until sometimes an hour before practice.
That's so hard.
An hour before practice, you got to draw 85 plays.
Yeah.
Unless you're
know-
Michigan.
Yeah. Then you got the
It does.
Then they wrote the script.
So it's so much different than what it is or used to be here and what it is at other places.
So I'm glad you kind of brought up your time in Miami. Because for those that don't know your history, you were at Miami in what was a lot of the heyday of what Miami was, right? You go to Tennessee as well.
No, I was at Tennessee first, then Miami.
Tennessee first while Peyton
What year
was
were you
there.
at Miami? What year?
98 and 99. So the 2001 team that's supposed to be the best team ever, that was made up of guys that we recruited when I was there.
There you go. So spent time at Tennessee while Peyton was there, go to Miami during their heyday, and then spent a very long time here at LSU. I think a lot of people, when they hear the SEC conversation, they think it's literally people that are just in the SEC that literally see it from top to bottom, 1, 2, the last guy on the thing. We're just better, and that just is what it is. And the truth of it is, it's not that. There's guys everywhere. You can find guys at any crack of the corner, at any school. There is dudes. In your assumption, in your mind, for seeing it from different places, from seeing it from here for so long, what is it that makes the SEC what it is and why it's able to, year in and year out, do what it's done?
Yeah, it just means more.
He's auditioning for a job in the front office right now.
There's no secret sauce to it. Like
it just means more. I mean, the climate has something to do with it because you can, like, today was freaking gorgeous, man.
Beautiful.
There's kids practicing baseball today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Hitting balls, and it just means more. And there's more emphasis placed on it. You know, when little kids are born, you know, their daddy says, you're going to play football at Catholic high school, or you're going to play football at Central High School. So it was funny when I visited Central this spring when Coach Semino got the job there, and he was talking about how much support they have in the community because the moms and the dads in that community, they played football or they were cheerleaders or they went to Central High, and that's important.
Yep.
And it's not like that other places.
Right.
Like, I talk to high school coaches all the time, and I'm just going to put it in air quotes, up north. And they don't even have organized strength and conditioning activities for their schools. And in 1975 or 1976, my junior high school football coach played football for Bear Bryant at Alabama. We had a weight program for our 6th and 7th grade football team.
Right.
And so I talked
How long ago is this?
1976.
1970 something.
1975, 1976. I graduated from high school in 1981. So we had a weightlifting program in middle school and junior high school. And there are high schools right now in New York and other places. Ooh, I said it.
Nobody knows the school, though. Nobody knows the school.
Right. They don't have organized strength and conditioning activities for the high school, and they have football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, track and field, basketball, tennis, golf. They have all those sports, and they don't train. Well, I mean, I can give you multiple examples of different states because that's what we do.
Right.
So I talk to all these coaches, and they don't have organized training. And so I said, "What kind of weights you got, Coach?" We don't have any weights. I'm like, "What?" And he said, "No, we don't do any training at all. Our kids, anything that they do on their own."
But they walk a lot.
I said, "Well, we got to start right there. You got to get equipment." And, we have better resources.
Yep.
It's more's put into it. It just means more.
And look, it's not bias. You say bias, right? And everybody likes to say, "Oh, we're biased." Everybody, you're in the
because
SEC.
when you're not in it, that's what people think. And
Right,
when
but
you're not around it.
Here's my argument to the bias part. We're not the ones. We're not the billionaires and the millionaires that are GMs and owners of NFL football teams drafting these athletes. We're not. Like, we're LSU fans, we're SEC fans, all that kind of stuff, but we're not the ones making these decisions. The ones who are making decisions are paid a whole hell of a lot more than we are. They have been around the game a lot longer, and they're not all from down here. But year in and year out, when you go to the NFL draft and you look at the guys on teams, an overwhelming majority of those players are from the SEC.
The Philadelphia Eagles seem to have figured it out.
Yeah, just get all of Georgia's defense and put them in Philly.
Yeah, that's a
And
squad.
it's not just football too. That's the
Yeah.
crazy
Right.
part. It's this conference has now gotten to a point to where it is men's basketball, it is women's basketball, it is men's baseball.
Well, baseball's
it's gone to where it wasn't always like that.
Right.
Now it's gone to where the cream of it's literally here in pretty much all sports. And you're bringing the point together of saying like, hey, look at what all these billionaires and who they're paying for and this and that. Go across national champions in sports in college and go see how many of those are coming out of the SEC. That's not bias.
Right.
It's literally being done on the field.
All right.
No doubt.
You can ask any player on our roster in 2019. There was a function at the College Football Hall of Fame where we went right after practice. We ate a little snack, and players got dressed, and we went to the Hall of Fame. We walked around. Everybody got to see the exhibits, and then we went and sat down. And then Oklahoma came walking in the door. We were going to have dinner with Oklahoma.
All right.
Okay? And then when we left Oklahoma, they didn't want us walking around the same time.
Right.
Right, of course. Yeah. It's a lot of testosterone around there.
When Oklahoma walked into the area where we were eating, and I was embarrassed for them, our players started laughing at them.
No.
That's not,
Our players started laughing and pointing at them. Yeah. And I text our staff, and I said, we are fixing to curb stomp these guys.
No, did.
Like, we won the game right there.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my freshman year showing up here at LSU, which was that 06 team, which like I know.
Monsters.
So like a lot of people outside the program, it's easy to forget them because we lost 2 games that year, right? They're the most talented team I've ever been around. It was unbelievable. Monsters. And the size and speed and ability that was on the team was crazy.
And the dogness.
Oh, it was crazy.
Oh, give them a 12-team playoff.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Nobody wanted to see that team.
Here's the funny part about it is like
Eat your honey, Brady Quinn.
there was 4 you're supposed to wins on the schedule. Right? We won those. There was also the SEC schedule that you play where there was good players all over the place. Like whatever. It is what it was. Even teams that we thought we were better than, they had some dudes somewhere. I will never forget, we go through that season, we get the bowl invite, we pop the first tape in of Notre Dame that year, who had Brady Quinn, who was a top
Jeff
5
Samardzija.
pick. They had Jeff Samardzija, who was supposed to be an All-American, who was an All-American wide receiver.
All-American safety.
Had an All-American safety. I remember
the boxer.
Oh, yeah.
We popped the tape in. I kid you not, 2 drives, and we're sitting there like, ain't no way this is who we about to play. They don't belong on the field with us. This is from watching film. We didn't even see him in person yet. We just like, nah, we've seen like 4 teams in the SEC that move better than y'all.
Tom's Mikowski's running that 4-7.
It's not even close. Like what? This is not going to be a game. Sure enough, we could go and beat them 45-3.
Right.
Wasn't even close.
Wasn't even close. And I think people, and that's part of the conversation is like people think it's a bias. It's not a bias when year in and year out that is what the results are.
Well,
right?
and you can
That's
look at the
just-
college football playoff like we were talking about a little bit earlier. That's why they didn't want to put Georgia in
and
it.
that's what I want to get in, right? To get into with you is like
yeah.
the playoff, right? Now, I think everybody agrees that 14 playoff was stupid. Like a 12-team playoff makes a lot. It's not a 14 playoff.
Could have been a 6-team.
No, it's
You
not
know?
even a playoff.
No,
for 14.
it's a beauty contest basically at that point. 12 teams playoff. Now you got to win. You got to earn your way to the championship.
I heard it called today. It's like a gymnastics. It's so subjective. It's like a gymnastics event.
Right. And so this year, you have, and look, if Jordan Travis was healthy, because we saw him firsthand when he's healthy, that defense is real at Florida State. They have really good playmakers on the outside. They have a good running back, and when your quarterback's there, it's really good. When he's not there, it doesn't matter. The defense is still good, but it doesn't really. You're not the same team, right? So yes, unfortunate that they went undefeated and didn't get in. But you look at Alabama, even Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Texas, all these teams. Did they get it right? And if not, or if you could have changed something, is there something that you would have changed? Mostly right. I don't think there's a right or wrong, right? Like I think,
it's so subjective. Like if you looked at like common opponents between Alabama and Texas, it's tough to distinguish between the opponents and who's the better team. It's just
Or the most
hard to know.
deserving.
right.
Yeah, or who's more deserving. And same thing with Florida State. But it's kind of like the 06 team was. By the end of the season, nobody wanted to play us. And I was laughing over there. I heard earlier y'all were talking about the ceremony that Michigan had.
Did you see the video?
Right.
Case.
Yeah. You can say what you want. Nobody wants to play Alabama right now.
No
one wants to play. Like at the beginning of the season, people were licking their chops to play
Oh,
Alabama.
they're done. Nick Saban's done. That lost his fastball.
Retire.
Can't wait to put that notch on the belt.
Not so fast, my friend.
Lost to Texas,
Yeah.
11 straight wins.
Yeah.
Beat the two-time defending national champion. Now, look, I'm not so sure. Georgia plays Alabama again. They don't beat them, right? Like, that's
I would. If they played them this weekend, there's a couple of guys from Georgia that they don't want to play Alabama again.
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, Carson Beck, namely, he looked like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, it's
Especially early on, he's
So
kind
I
of
think-
found
I
his
think-
footing, but he could tell that there's some dogs over there.
The Alabama offensive line played as about as good a football game as you could have possibly played in that game. They beat Georgia up. They beat them up.
Yep. And Milroe did the things he needed to do. Alabama's defense, which really it's so unfortunate that that Jaden got hurt. Because I think watching the LSU Alabama, because that wasn't like it was early in the season. Like that was like the last month of the year.
Yeah.
So watching them in that game, that's when Alabama was making these strides defensively. LSU was moving the ball and could do what they wanted to do offensively. So it was a shame that he got hurt and didn't get to finish it out. But you saw, okay, Alabama's defense from week 1 to Alabama's defense in week 13, completely different, right? Like they were covering guys, they were making tackles, they weren't getting beat over the top. And
we talk about all the time, confidence is a scary drug, and LSU gave them confidence that way.
for sure,
Because
Jalen Milroe in particular.
I about to say, well, you know what else you saw? Like people won't talk about that. They played Texas in week 2. You know what that also was? Yeah. That was Jalen Milroe's second start of his career.
Right.
So we're sitting there acting like this is a seasoned player. He was brand new.
Right.
And he played against a eventual playoff team.
Yeah.
And they lost that game.
And then Coach Saban, you know what he did? He saw Jalen struggling. And what he did is he said, hey, come over here, stand over here, and just watch it. Because I've heard him say that if the guy starts to struggle, pull him out, let him watch a series, talk to him. Don't yell at him. Talk to him. He'll figure it out. And that's what Coach Saban did.
Yep.
He took him out, let him sit on the sidelines. You know, in fact, they won, and Jalen was just as happy as anybody,
Exactly.
jumping, celebrating.
And I think that showed a lot about who he was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It shows a lot about who Saban was too, because
He put a lacrosse player at quarterback.
Saban's no idiot, man. Like, he knew, hey, if there's an opportunity for us to win a game without a guy that I know I need, it's got to be this one, or this team's not it. And it happened. Like, he understood that and had enough. I'm making the move right now because it's either now or never for this team.
Yeah.
Right.
And it worked out.
It's a lot of credit to Tommy Rees, too, to kind of figure out Jalen Monroe and the best way to
What
use
he
him.
could do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, there's a lot of people that have been coaching a long time that never figured that out.
Yeah, you better work with one.
And you
That's
gotta
the
have,
mark of a great coach.
You got to put your ego aside sometimes. Say, okay, my scheme or the way I've designed it doesn't work with what we got. Let me figure this out and adjust to my personnel. And you've been around it. Like, there's some coaches that can do that.
Tossed out
right?
again.
Saban obviously is the best at it, because Saban, for as good as he is and as successful he is, everyone's got a little bit of an ego. Everyone's got a little bit of some, like, the pride. Hey, this is my thing. But no matter what he's done, I mean, he's had pocket passers in Tua. He's had guys who are running backs play quarterback and win national champions.
Blake Sims.
He's had true quarterbacks. He's had dual threat quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Jalen Milroe. He's had guys who haven't had starts and develop them. Like, he's done it all. We've
Look
had
at
run
Mac
the football.
Jones,
We've thrown the
Look
football.
at Mac Jones now.
Right.
He's pulled the richest man in the NFL right now out at halftime for a freshman and said, hey, you got to sit in the national
Right.
championship game.
And so
Yeah, that's right. You know, and the left tackle was a true freshman. 74 was a true freshman. He's about 358 pounds. He's almost 329 pounds right now. He's lost over 20 pounds.
Wow.
A true freshman. He was too heavy, couldn't move his feet, couldn't protect. But what they did, which with the structure that they have in that organization, he said, you're going to lose weight, you're going to get better, you're going to keep working. That big tackle was all out over his toes. If you go back and look at the early games, he would have pass blocked me, but he couldn't. He couldn't pass block a lot of folks.
Right.
And now that offensive line played their butts off.
Yeah.
Milrose stood back there. Sometimes he just stood there.
yeah. And I think that's the scariest thing.
Especially
is
run a defense like Auburn does.
even at 70-ish, however old he is, 72 years old, or however old Saban is, he is
a vampire.
He is still able to relate to these players and develop these players, right? Because the team you see in week 1 is not going to be the same team you see in week 12, right? And the same player you see in week 1 is going to be a different player, and that's what makes him so good. I know that's frustrating for people to say, oh, Saban's done. No, he's not. He's still got it. He's going to be there for as long as he wants to be there until he says it's time for me to go home. And so I think him being in the Final Four is the right call. I think Texas is the right call. I think Washington is the right call. And I think Michigan is the right call. Now, Michigan felt like they were going to have a layup.
That's your favorite team coach.
They did. They felt like
they were at a funeral, man. There was like 3 people that went.
number 1 overall seed, thought they were going to play an undefeated championship in the ACC, but it has no quarterback. Oh, this is going to be awesome.
If you watch closely, there was a couple dudes as soon as it happened.
No way! No way!
Just walked out like, I've seen enough.
There were people who got up and walked out. And then,
Yeah. And then
Heard a couple.
and then they got to talk, and now I would imagine they're probably going to be a 6.5 point underdog. I would imagine. I don't know what the line opened up, but
what is it? Lloyd's
I'm about to pull it up.
so they obviously Alabama plays them, and then you got the Washington Texas game, which I think is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
The 2-3 games always seems like it's like the better one, right? The 4-1, except for the first year of the college football playoff, I think was the best, because that's when you had Ohio State with Cordell Jones at 4, and you had three really, really good games. What is it?
They done did it again.
What is it?
Michigan -2.
Michigan's favored?
They done did it again.
I'd put money on Bama.
Oh no,
A lot.
Yeah.
I'd put a lot of money on
Yeah,
Bama.
that's why Las Vegas does that.
No doubt. And now watch when it gets closer, it's going to be flipped. It'll probably be flipped completely opposite, I'd imagine.
I just don't know how you could. I mean, what was it, 5.5 against Georgia, and you're just like, oh, well, Georgia seems to be the best team in the country.
Georgia's favored 5.5.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then but why would you do it again? Why would you make Alabama an underdog again with Nick Saban,
They
who
play in
just
2
preaches
weeks?
that message?
They play on New Year's Eve.
New Year's
Or New Year's Day.
New Year's Day.
Day.
New Year's Day.
They got a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So they'll play all the bowl games and then,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So you
And
got a
we- and
whole
we know
month.
how
You
that
got a whole
goes.
month with that left tackle, coach.
Yeah. You know how that goes. Saban with a month. Pretty.
Harbaugh will be deep into his negotiations.
NFL career.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he will
Harbaugh,
have taken many calls at that time.
Listen, I think Harbaugh is going to be with the Bears next year. That's my prediction. I've said that from. I mean,
Jump.
you could,
See,
from the beginning of the
here's the
season.
thing. You keep calling the Bears, and I'm just. LA's a nice place to go.
People think the Chargers
with the great quarterback.
No doubt. People think the Chargers. Some people saying Raiders. I think the Bears have. He was a quarterback for the Bears, right? Like I just think that that is kind of what they would want to do.
That's his MO. He's a
Bring
quarterback
somebody
in
in there
Michigan.
that kind of was there with the old days, where they were good, that type of thing.
But there is a lot of conversation of wherever Jim Harbaugh leaves, there usually doesn't leave like on great terms because he's just not that kind of guy.
No doubt.
So I don't know if he's a go back to where I came from, like some big happy reunion type
Right.
thing. I don't know if that's a thing with him.
Right, and so we'll see. Like I think you're right. He'll be in negotiations. I think he wants to win a national championship for Michigan. I don't think they're good enough. I think they're good defensively. I don't think they got enough offensively. The way they listen, they're going to try to run the football. Good luck. I mean, you're just saying, hey, do what we do best and defend the run. That's all you're trying to do. Like.
What does
Les
Georgia-
Miles tried
what
to do
does
that for a
Georgia do
long
well?
time.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh.
let me try to power the ball through you to the teeth of the defense. Ain't happen. Like it's just not gonna happen against Alabama or Georgia or those types of teams. It's not gonna work. So I'd imagine
Leonard
that
Fournette ran
line's
for
gonna
28
flip.
yards out the womb.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
then
it's-
you do the same thing against Alabama, 28 yards.
Now, within this month, right, you have the preparation for bowl games. Bowl games will start probably in a couple weeks, and then you'll have a month of conversation about the playoffs and all those things. Well, within this month, this Friday, you have early signing period, right, which I think is now the real signing period, right, and then you have the 30-day window of the portal right now, which if you've been paying attention, which I know a lot of people watching our show has, because this is what we revolve around down here in Louisiana.
A lot of
A lot
Louisiana kids.
What?
A lot of
Louisiana kids are in the portal from other schools. A lot of A&M players are putting their name in there right now, kind of trying to figure out where they're going to go, right? If they want to leave, if not. A lot of Ohio State guys, their quarterback's gone. Ooh. Yeah, like they have, I think 8 or 9 guys in the portal. Rumor is Ryan Day is kind of flirting with some NFL conversations, which I don't know how I feel about him in the NFL, but a lot of those guys are leaving Ohio State. This is a new thing, right? The portal happened kind of towards the back end when your time here, right? And so with signing period and the portal within this week, like how hectic is it around you're preparing for a bowl game and shit. Some teams are preparing for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And national championship run, but they also got to manage signing day and the portal. How complicated does it get behind the scenes?
Yeah, so you have now unlimited visits, like
Right.
they just pile up, and sometimes you don't even know they're coming in. So they'll bring guys in, like for me in the weight room, they would bring one kid and a set of parents, or sometimes the entire family, and we'd have to stop what we were doing to put on a good presentation for the family.
Wow.
And we just got to the point where we started keeping a lot of it up all the time so that we didn't have to set stuff up. We had our PowerPoint queued up. So we actually, we broke it down so there were apps. So depending on the level of the player, the kid, sometimes we'd have kids come in they didn't know anything about. They just popped up, said, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'm from, so-and-so
Ohio
school.
State.
My name's in the portal. I'd like a tour. So, somebody's going to give that kid a tour.
Yeah.
And while they're trying to find out who he is, trying to pull up some huddle tape, et cetera, it's crazy. And so one day we were in the middle of the workout, had a big group in there. I spent all this time talking to the kid. And when he left, I asked one of the recruiting guys, I said, who is that? And he was like, we don't know. I said, we're not offering him? He goes, we don't even know. And I'd pulled myself out of the entire workout, to talk to this kid.
That's crazy.
And so when we were done, and, they don't even know who some of these people are. So I said to the recruiting department, I said, look, man, we got to come up with like some names for this, okay? So like there's got to be, let's look at
like
it
a
like
tier
a meal.
list.
Let's look at it like a meal. We're going to give them apps, and then we're going to have a meal, and then we're going to have apps plus a meal plus dessert.
The 5-course.
Yeah. And so I need to know, like, you got to identify who these people are. So just come up and say, hey, nothing but the apps, coach. And I would take 10 or 15 seconds to introduce myself, see if they got any questions, pat them on the back, see you later. So it's hectic because there's going to be people coming in 3-4 times a day interrupting what we did in the weight room. And then on the weekends, you have the big visits
Right.
On the weekends.
And you gotta re-recruit guys you have on the current.
And you're re-recruiting guys. Now, for us in the weight room, that went on year round.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're always
Because you're around them more than any other
dropping
coach.
nuggets.
all year round. So the a player would come, because especially if you're like I always say it, if you have cypress trees in your backyard, you cut them open, they bleed purple and gold. But occasionally, you'd have a guy that was talking about, well, first it was opting out, and then you had the portal. And one of those players with cypress trees in his backyard would come and say, hey, coach, so-and-so is talking about maybe leaving or, opting out or getting in the portal. All hands on deck,
Right.
So there are players on the team that are loyal to the cause, and they let you know who's thinking. Yeah. Who's thinking what. But you're still, we always had juniors leave and go pro. So we were always talking to those guys about the benefits of staying an extra year, more work. Let's continue to work on your 40-yard dash time. Let's gain 5 more pounds. Let's lose 5 pounds, et cetera. So for us, the portal and guys leaving early, that was every day.
Just a continual work of putting that plan in your head of what we see for you here.
Exactly.
That way you're now naming a portal. Now let's go figure out who's got a plan for me. Well, I know they got one for me here.
Right.
And there's a window and there's an opportunity for me to play.
Yeah.
I guess switch conversation a little bit, but we kind of alluded to it last week. And the conversation's a little different now that we've seen it kind of play out, if you will. Florida State's a big name, right? Like they've done this thing for a long time. They were really, really good through the 90s and stuff like that. That was actually a team that I grew up watching just because in that era they were it. Yeah. It was hard to not be it at them, right? They're more on the I'm back or we're back tour. Not so much of we've arrived finally. Right. This bowl game for them, I would imagine, means everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
But like we talked about last week, there's only 24 hours in a day, and for a Georgia team who was 41-2 in their last 43, their only 2 losses have been to Alabama. It's been in a conference championship. I would imagine that their mindset from the coach's office, from the upstairs room, is we are missing that 1 or 2 players, not we need to go all in against Florida State. As much as people don't want to understand that or know what's going on, not so much result-wise, but what is your thought process on what you think their approach will be, or the 2 approaches will be to this game?
Yeah, so, Florida State's going to have a big chip on their shoulder. Their goal is going to be to prove to everyone we're here. This is not the old Florida State, over the last decade. We're here. It's a program game for them. Mm-hmm. They beat Georgia. It's a program win. Kirby right now he's trying to, they're bailing water out of the ship right now, They're trying to figure everything out, because Kirby's plea after the game was it sounded desperate after the game. So Kirby and them, they're trying to right the ship and get everybody refocused. Me personally, as a coach, I would rather be in Florida State's position, playing with a chip on your shoulder. You got something to prove.
And everybody's in, too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And whereas Georgia, they got the poor me's. They feel like they got screwed. You know, we're ranked number 1 all season. People are looking at each other. So I would much rather be on the Florida State side right now.
Well, Coach, look at Kirby Smart in this press conference when he gets announced to the Orange Bowl. You think he wants to be a part of that?
Yeah. I mean, if Florida State wins, I think Florida State's going to do what the UCF did, try to raise the banner.
Yeah.
Hey,
how about that?
You know, we're the national champs in our mind. You know, in our house, we're national champions, co-national champions. Obviously, it's not going to be recognized, but I agree with you. If Florida State goes and wins and beats Georgia, no matter how unmotivated Georgia is, that is a huge win for Florida State.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Kirby and everyone's their responsibility to get their team to play.
Yep.
I mean, that's their, so that doesn't take any shine off that win at all.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia's got to show up and perform, or they're going to get beat.
No doubt. I'm looking forward. I think this playoffs are going to be a lot interesting than normal.
I think that game's also got a chance to – obviously, we talked about the Florida State side, but I think it's got a chance for some of Georgia's big names to actually stay and play that game for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, I think if there's guys that are teetering on, sitting it out or not, I think you got more of a chance for those guys to stay in that game.
Yeah. I saw today that Caleb Williams was sitting out, but I've heard people on the national media talk about certain players needing to sit out and not playing. Like that is I can't fathom that. I just can't. Like if you're any type of competitor, if you have any type of warrior mentality, how on earth are you going to sit out and not play? I just don't get it.
And that's my biggest, and we've talked about this a lot on this show. My biggest gripe with the portal and NIL, it's not about getting paid. I think college kids, I'm fine with them getting paid.
Yeah.
Right?
Y'all would have liked to add a little extra cash.
I would love to have some money in my pocket, no doubt, right? And I'm okay with you wanting to go somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes. I think the situation sometimes calls for it. But the problem with that, and my gripe with the NIL and the transfer portal, is you take away some of that desire to do it for the guy next to you, right? Like, hey, we're here because of me. I'm here because of what I need to do for myself. Yeah, I want to win, but like I want to win on my terms, kind of thing. Like, hey, I've done enough. We're not going to go win the national championship, so let me go get ready for the NFL instead of saying, hey, well, I grinded with 3 years with these guys. Let me go and finish out my career. And listen, I get it's a new age, but that's been my biggest.
I know.
I don't get. It's one thing if you are really, really way more banged up than what people know,
right,
heading into this game, and it's been taking you a whole hell of a lot to be able to get through week to week. That's a different conversation to have in my mind. But the rest of it is like, I don't understand how there's an opportunity for you to put more on tape, for you to show what you're capable of, even the most selfish of selfish dudes, whether they want to show it or not, and you take this opportunity and say, nah, I'm going to sit out.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You're going to sit out a New Year's Day bowl game.
Right.
Kidding me?
Right.
Kidding me?
No doubt. And here's the other thing, like, you want to cement your legacy at that school. Bowl games count towards school records and all those types of things. I know that doesn't really matter to a lot of people, but like, if I'm going to be at LSU or at a big school and I've been there for 3 years and I've progressed, I've done everything I need to do, and I'm at that last game, like, I want to be able to just put the last little bit on top of the finishing touches on my
Go out
career.
with your boys.
Well,
No doubt.
And then on top of that too, like let's just say you happen to realize like you're not that playoff team, right? Like Caleb Williams, USC knows they're not that playoff team. They've been knowing that for a couple weeks now. Why'd you keep playing then?
Right.
Yeah.
You could have gotten hurt in those games as well. So why didn't you sit those out? So you finished out the season, but you're not going to finish out the season.
No doubt.
That to me just doesn't really make much sense.
I wanted to ask you this before we move on to a little bit of the Moffitt method, right? So you talked about part of this last month and a half here is, guys either electing to go to the NFL. Right now it's the portal and all that stuff, but you also have guys junior year either coming back, trying to keep them back. You have, they get an opportunity to go see where they would be great in the NFL. So you have all this information, and you help them make the right decision for themselves, right, along with their families and close friends and all these types of things. But these guys that decide either they're seniors or they decide to go in the draft, and they either go to the combine or they're getting ready for the pro day, right? Back when, early mid-2000s, late 2000s, early 2010s even, a lot of these guys that do a lot of the training, they go some places, but they do a lot of training at LSU and do a lot of stuff there. Now with Instagram and social media and all these gurus everywhere, hey, you need to come train for this, and you see all these guys doing these crazy footwork route drills that that's great, but you're running in place for 7 seconds, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? You're not doing some of the other things. What are the challenges for you as a strength coach to help not only train these guys, but help educate them and say, hey, this is the things that you need to do to get ready for the combine or get ready for the pro day, as opposed to them trying to go to the new shiny type of thing and going elsewhere?
Yeah, so now it's really a thing now where the agents actually purchase blocks. Y'all know this. The agent purchase blocks.
Well, baseball didn't do it for us. But,
Well,
sort of.
In football,
they did.
Agents will purchase a certain number of spots at the boutique places.
Right.
And then those boutique places, they're required to have photographers, videographers, media people. I mean, it's, the upper echelons of these facilities, of the ones that are more into creating that type of buzz, they have an entire staff of influencers there to photograph and do all that stuff. Then you have another small select group of facilities that are all about work, and they'll say, and they're established well enough, and they put up some of the best numbers in the combine.
Right.
They're like, you come here, if anybody takes your picture, it's going to be a selfie because you're coming here to work. And there's people that they don't want that. And then there's other people, like Kyle Williams wouldn't have gone to the...
Yeah, no, I don't know photographers.
Yeah. Kyle Williams, Andrew Whitworth, and Brady James, 3 of the best players that we've ever had here, stayed right here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. Right.
They worked out with me and Mac.
Yeah.
All 3 of them. And then and you can ask Matt Flynn this. Matt Flynn went to one of the big boutique places. We had 2 guys, Matt Flynn and Ollie Highsmith, went to the same place. They had miserable combines. Matt said that he could have laid on the couch and drank beer and eat pizza all day, and he would have done better than what he did. In classic Matt Flynn. And I think that was verbatim. I don't think that was a paraphrase. And then Ollie Highsmith ran a 4.9 at the combine. And so his uncle, Alonzo, who then was a director of college scouting or something like that for the Packers, called and says, did you see what Ali ran? I said, yeah. He goes, I'm sending him to you. He should have never left you. He's all yours. He'll be there, in 2 days. I said, okay. So Ali shows up. First thing I told him to do was take a break. Come back and see me in 3 days. You haven't done anything in 2. Come back and forget everything that you did, and we're going to start from scratch. And me and Paul Jackson, all we did was work on his start.
Right? Yep.
It's kind of like the movie Seabiscuit. You know the movie Seabiscuit where they rang the bell? Yep. So that's all we did. We worked on Ali's start, and his first time was like a 4.74. And then he said, I'm done, because he went from a 4.96 to a 4.74. And they were like, no, we want you to run again. He ran a 4.69. Right. And then they were like, we want him to run again, Ali. I said, Ali, you got a heater here. Let's run another. And he ran a sub 4.6 time and ended up getting drafted, So some of those places, some of those people do a really, really good job. And I would recommend, I'd say to a player, if that's what you want to do, especially for a guy that he had been here for 3 years or 4 years and worked his ass off, maybe a change of pace would be good for him, you know? But then if there were other guys that, you know, because there's some negative influences, you know, when you go to those places, there's strip clubs and
and you don't
big
and you
cities.
have guys that you're not comfortable with that maybe aren't
And they-
on the same mentality.
Lloyd would have come back.
Lloyd
10
heard
pounds
nothing.
overweight.
Lloyd's been asleep the
Strip
last
club,
20 minutes of
strip
the
club.
conversation.
Strip club. What did you say?
So I would say you need to stay right here in Baton Rouge. You need to stick with us. You don't need to go anywhere. There's, you know, you're doing good right now. You don't need any negative influences. So it really depended on who the individual was, who his agent was, and where he said he wanted to go.
Right.
That's how I kind of handle it.
So I'm so glad this part of the conversation came up because the environment, and then obviously like every profession that you get into, the closer you get to the top of it, the smaller the community is of it, right? And so you end up knowing where the good ones are, where the good spots are, who knows what the hell they're talking about. But these aren't really things unless guys came up to you that you can basically give to them, because now it looks like you're influencing that decision.
Right.
So when you got guys that came back to you where either you knew the work wasn't going to be what needed to happen, or you knew the environment this particular guy does not need to be in, how did you go about saying, I can't tell you no, but I can tell you it's not? How did you go about that?
Well, so great question. And I would get phone calls from guys, okay, and they would be panicked. Coach, we ran a 40 today, and I ran the slowest time I've run in 2 years. I'd say, okay, first of all, calm down. Don't panic. Was it a handheld or electronic? Handheld, okay. All right, here's what I want you to do. Get somebody to video your start, because 75% of your maximum velocity is achieved in like 7 yards. So I'd have them, and I mean recently, I had guys send me videos of all your stuff, and then I would critique it through text and then send it to them. But what I did is I always made notations of where the player went and what the issues were with those people when they came back. You know, vertical went down or vertical went up, 40 went down, because you can tell like where the mistakes were in, like if their vertical went up and their short shuttle and all that stuff went down, they got faster, but their 40-yard dash was slower, then it probably had a lot to do with their stance and their start, because that is so critical in the 40-yard dash. Whereas something like the vertical jump or something that's bam, 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 where it's not, I mean, you can do a lot of technique for the short shuttle, but still, if you're fast, you're fast. But we're in the 40, it's going to come up. So what I did is I just kept notations of where guys went, what the mistakes in their training were. And then when the players came and talked to me, based on whatever that player's strengths or weaknesses were, I would try to push them to a certain place. You know, and certain places had a reputation of doing a really good job with linemen.
I was about to ask that.
And
there
you know,
certain position groups that go certain places?
and something else, like you don't want to go to a place where there's going to be a bunch of skilled people and you're going to be one of two linemen there. And the only reason you're going is because one of our receivers is your roommate and y'all want to be together.
Right.
Like that makes no sense at all.
Right.
You know, texting. Just texting.
FaceTime. If you
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and like, the place in Gulf Breeze, there's one in Arizona. What's it called?
I know
it's
what
by
you're
the
talking
Andrews Institute.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
What is the name of it?
API. Is it API?
No, it's not API. API is another good one. Not Encore. API is a good one, though. It's right there on the campus of the Andrews Institute. But there's one in Gulf Breeze. There's one in Arizona. There's one in Dallas. And there's one somewhere in Florida. But I felt like the guys that went to Arizona didn't have as good of results. I would, if you insisted on going there, I would send them to Gulf Breeze or the one in Dallas. So it just depended. You know, I just tried to be a consultant because there was no way I was going to be Exos.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Exos. So that I knew, you know, they had their heart
Tip of my
set.
tongue.
You know, and their agent was paying for it. So they had their heart set on going away. So I just tried to, you know, influence them to go to a place where I thought was going to be best suited for them.
Yeah.
Versus some place where they were, you know, going to be taking pictures all day.
And that makes a lot of sense because, you know, we talk about coaching and ego and, hey, you know, this is what we did. I want to be the guy. You see a lot of that in baseball, right?
Yeah.
Professional baseball. They want to be the guy, hey, I fixed this guy. I changed his swing. This is my swing. This is my guy who I trained. And so they don't like these different hitting coaches.
But it's also different in baseball because a lot of baseball guys, they want to be tabbed to literally one player.
Right.
It's not like, hey, we had 30 different guys come through here.
doubt.
It's this one guy could make me go this way.
Right. They want to get tabbed.
A lot of money in that.
And they use that, right? But I guess my point in saying that is you see that in baseball.
Yeah.
But the best hitting coaches that I've had in professional baseball, right? And I can, you know, I've had a couple of really good ones, but in the big leagues, his name was Chad Mottola, by far the best. And the reason what made him the best, one, is because he could relate to the players, but two, he didn't care who you went hit with in the offseason. He just wanted to know what you were doing so that whenever you came back to him during the season, he could talk the language that you've been learning all offseason, right? And that's kind of similar to what it feels like the strategy you took with some of or you take with some of these guys, right? And I think that's important because at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do, and it's either you're going to adapt and you're going to adjust and you're going to be a part of that, or you're going to be stubborn and you say, okay, well, you're not doing the right thing, and then there's going to be a rift, and it's not good for anybody.
Well, like, for instance, that's what Coach Jenkins has done for the last 15 years.
1,000 years.
Yeah, he's been, you know, and he's done it all over the country. He's done combine preparation for the D-line. So especially an offensive and defensive lineman, the last thing they need to worry about is their 40-yard dash. Offensive linemen need to be kick, sliding, and punching, and, you know, stance and steps and pushing sleds. And, you know, D linemen need to be striking sleds and getting off people. And, you know, that's the 4.8 for an offensive guard. All that looks good, okay? But if that guy can't pass block, if he can't do what he's got to do, you know, in the trenches, that 40-yard dash doesn't mean anything. Whereas if you're a corner, and to some degree, you know, corners, you know, they scooch, turn and run. But if you're a receiver, a running back, a corner, a safety, I could understand that. But for offensive and defensive linemen, you need to go someplace where there's a guy like Coach Jenkins or someone.
Technique.
Willie Anderson over in Mobile. Willie trains a bunch of NFL guys. You need to go somewhere where you can work with those type of people.
Can't let you go without speaking about the Moffitt method because I'm in it now.
You're in it
I'm
deep.
I'm in the week one. I'm going through week two, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I just got back from New York.
All right, let me, did Clay not work out today either?
He's got a little bone to pick with Clay.
Listen, Clay, he's on the phone more than I like him to be on the phone in the workout. He doesn't like hey, let me call you back thing.
No. Well,
which is great, you know, but you know,
Clay's making money.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got his earpiece in, huh?
Oh yeah. Which, look, he was throwing up bench the other day and speaking on the phone at the same time, which is actually very impressive to me, right? Like that's actually really impressive. He did not work out today, and so he is now coming tomorrow morning work out because you're not going hunting apparently.
Yeah,
it was a penny, so you can't go hunting. So now he is.
How'd you find that out?
He told me because I was going to work. I said, Clay, I'm not working out at noon and 3 and 6:15. 6:15 every morning. I'll be there. So you either come with me or you can't.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I may be going hunting, and he just texted me.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going hunting anymore.
Yeah,
so
we were
I'll
going in the morning, but something popped up, so we
Perfect. So we'll be there,
the
right?
workout.
But, and like I said, he's a meathead.
Yeah.
And so he pushes, which is good. He pushes me. Now, a lot of the things, I haven't done this in a while, like the squats, you know, but last week, I mean, I felt like, I swear to God, I was a freshman in college again. I was abnormally sore. Right now, I would imagine week 2, I'm probably going to be sore. Maybe not as much. When does the soreness? This is for everyone else, right?
No way. I got a story, dude. This is the funniest thing ever. It's so funny you're bringing this up because it literally just hit me like a pound of bricks. I will never, ever, ever forget when I first showed up on campus. The first time I ever did, I think it was glute ham curls. On the glute machine.
Dude.
My brother was living in Baton Rouge. He went to Southern at the time, right? And so I did them. I went to his house the day after, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I got up, and I thought I had ripped something out of my hamstring. I couldn't reach to like basically my knees without my hamstrings feeling like they were popping out of my. So like I was like, I can't sit on the couch. I'm just gonna lay on the floor. Because every time I do this, every time I bend my legs, when I get up, it feels. I'm just not supposed to feel like this. What was that?
I felt that because I hadn't done the heavy squats
sword to the touch.
Yes.
Or the deadlifts, right? And so I woke up after we did lower body on Tuesday, right? The next day was abs on last Wednesday. And so I woke up and I'm like, damn, I thought I was, because we did lower body later in the afternoon. And so I woke up thinking I was going to be that same way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I'm not as sore as I thought. I'm like, that's good, because like we went heavy, kind of got after it. So I go start doing abs, and by the time I finished doing abs, I'm talking about hour, like minute by minute, it would get sore, more sore, and more sore, and more sore. And every time I sat down and stood up, I'm like, oh, this is
it for me.
All right,
This
well,
is not good.
let me say this, though. You know, that's not optimal, okay? Like, you should have eased in it just a little
That's
bit.
what's your son's fault. That's exactly what I told him.
Well,
I was like,
lifting
listen.
with Clay, so.
I was like, Clay, listen to me. I know you haven't. He goes, yeah, I haven't lifted weight. I was like, yeah, but you lifted in the last like
Clay's
6
got
months.
a barbell in his. Clay's got barbells
exactly.
and dumbbells in his garage.
He grew up eating barbells, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Clay, I hadn't
Got
done
one
this
standing in the corner of the shower.
I hadn't done this in like 4 years, right? Like this
Yeah.
heavy. So I was like, let me ease
Yeah.
into it. He goes, oh no, you're good. I'm like, it's not about me not being able to do it. It's about me doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
It's about me being functional tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm like doing it. So we got through it.
Well, good.
We got through it. This week's gonna be better.
Yeah.
Right? It's gonna be. I'm not gonna be as sore. And I guess for the people who aren't used to it, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be sore, right? Don't be scared of that. Embrace the soreness. Embrace the suck, right? And then, over time, how long does it usually take to get used to it for these guys who have not done? Obviously, not squatting 500 pounds, but
Yeah. Well, ideally, you would want to ease into it a little better, okay? And
Speaking my language.
So if you were an incoming freshman, okay, or if you were anybody that I train, I mean, we start with the barbell. When Jared started, we started with just the barbell. So we'd spend a week or 2 weeks or sometimes even 3 weeks of nothing but the bar. And then we would start mainstreaming people in with different groups. So, we organized everybody based on their height and weight and maybe what position they played. We tried to get them by position, but you can't always do that.
right.
And then while they trained, we would meet at the end of the day and we'd talk about, who did well. And then we'd do that every day. And then the next week we'd reorganize the group and we would take guys that had a little bit better technique or a little bit more experience and try to group them, still trying to keep them same size. And we'd start adding a little bit of weight to that.
Yeah.
But if you haven't done anything and you start training, you're going to get sore. It's delayed onset muscle soreness. Yep.
That's weakness leaving the body.
So the New York guys, they feeling it then.
Yeah, But now here's the thing about Clay too that Clay doesn't realize that he walks. I don't know if he's ever told you about the 80-pound vest. So Clay will walk a couple of miles. I don't know how many times a week.
You failed to mention that to me.
Yeah. So like. He's got a weighted vest that he'll wear and he'll walk around the neighborhood with that, so that's still work,
Right, yeah.
That's still work. So my point to that is the key is to just start moving.
Yep.
And if you might, if you hear your story, you would say, I'm not doing the muscle.
Exactly. I don't want to scare anybody away.
Yeah.
This is me.
But, start doing something. Take the first step and get out and walk. Like I start every day with. Now I started a weighted vest. I either do. Yesterday I did 2 miles with the weighted vest. Now mine's only 40 pounds. And then in the afternoon I ride my bike, which is. But I feel better now on my bike ride from having started doing the weighted vest, walking with the weighted vest, because it's a form of strength training.
Right.
So now I'm faster on the bike. Right. And then today I walked 3 miles. So if I were to start training, my soreness wouldn't be the same as what somebody else is, because I'm currently working.
Right.
So get in the floor, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, do some body weight squats, get moving so that when you do start any form of training, you're not going to be as sore had you not.
You don't want that lactic acid buildup.
Well, technically,
Take a shot.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
technically it's not lactic acid buildup, but it's like micro trauma. It's micro tears. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, muscles work on a sliding filament theory, and you're.
That was the next thing I was going to say.
Straining, you're actually doing micro trauma to the muscle fiber.
So I'll tell you what. So like I'll wear a Whoop, right? And it's a fitness tracker, and it tells you heart rate variability, tells you heart rate, talks about how difficult a workout is. And me and Jared and Lloyd, we do F45, right? Not all at the same time, but we do it. And so it's a lot more of a higher cardio, especially like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's more of a higher cardio, less weights, but you mix weights in. Some of them are really hard. And so you see like sometimes my Whoop will say, oh, you had a 10.5 workout, which anything in the 10s to me is really good when I got to F45, because your body gets used to it.
Yeah.
The whole deal. So we went and I did the weights I did the upper body and I did lower body one day and the next day. My Whoop score was 10.2 and 10.1 on consecutive days, and I wasn't doing any cardio, which is was crazy for me to see, because you're exerting as much energy, your heart rate's going up, you're sweating, and you're probably burning more calories doing weight training than you are just doing these cardio workouts.
Well,
and different types of calories, I guess.
Well, no, the heart rate. So that's one of the common misconceptions about cardio versus weight training, because people consider cardio to be the end-all be-all when it comes to losing weight and conditioning your heart. But the cardiac response from lifting heavy weight is greater than it is doing cardio. So you're going to have a higher cardiac response to lifting weights, especially doing barbell, like complex movements like deadlifts, squats, cleans. Y'all haven't done any of those yet, but
we did cleans.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's right. That's right. On Thursday, y'all did hang cleans.
I'd rather you give me power, but we did hang.
Yeah. So
give me the hang cleans, coach.
So you're going to have as great or greater cardiac response from doing that.
Right.
Than you would, and your heart is going to get higher, because at F45, it is cardiovascular. The resistance is lower, the durations are longer, so it's a different type of stimulus. Yeah. But in fact, studies have shown that resistance training is actually better for your heart than cardiovascular condition. That's why if you want to get faster, you either got to sprint, drag a sled, or run uphill.
Because of resistance.
Yeah, for added resistance.
Yep.
And that added resistance causes a greater cardiac response from lifting.
I'm about to say, so I've always told them, like, I will use the F45 workouts and kind of try to tailor it towards, like, what I think I can do in here that's going to allow me to exert real effort, but not to where I'm like absolutely dead, to where I can get the time to rest and basically give you that same effort after again. So when you talk about cardio to resistance training, for people that say, oh, well, I don't know if I want to do that. I go out and I
don't want to get bulky.
Can you explain to them what exertion, like real exertion, of them giving that kind of effort and then you taking the right amount of time off? Meaning, like, and then getting after it again, and how much more beneficial that is for you.
Yeah. So, different, like for instance, so if I were to do zone 2, so when like all of my cardiovascular work that I do is I do 80% of it in my zone 2 heart rate range, because I will not burn out. Yeah. So I can do that for
All day.
20 miles. Like people say, what's a normal ride? And I'll say, well, 20 it would be an easy ride. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm in zone 2. Now, 20% of my ride is in zone 4.
Right.
That's ugly.
Yeah.
Right.
Zone 4 is pushing it.
Yeah,
Zone
that's
4
I'm gonna throw up.
Don't look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're spending 10 minutes in zone 4, that's
Yeah. So I do intervals.
Yeah.
So I will do intervals because I can't maintain that heart rate and go for a long time.
Yeah. Right.
I would pass out and fall off the bike.
Right.
So it depends on what the goal is. So my goal is to burn calories.
Mm-hmm.
So I get in zone 2. And for me, because when I do zone 4, it resets my maximum heart rate. So my maximum heart rate, if I did the math, I think my maximum heart rate is supposed to be maybe 109. For zone 2, it's supposed to be 109 to like 114. But because of my maximum heart rate that I've done on my bike doing zone 4 training, my actual maximum heart rate for zone 2 is like 10 beats higher than what would be prescribed if you did the math like they do for normal people, because I do both.
Right.
So I do zone 2 and I do zone 4. So zone 2 training, cardiovascular training, increases the size of the gas tank. Mm-hmm. Okay? It just makes you have a bigger gas tank.
Right.
But when you, like the intense exertion, zone 4 or lifting heavy weights, mm-hmm. that gives you more horsepower.
Yep.
So for instance, if and let's say it's a shit hits the fan scenario, okay? If somebody comes walking in that door with a club and is going to start clubbing us to death, us 4 in here, us 4, it's going to be,
I'll talk
that's
them down.
what CrossFit is all built upon. It's like the shit hit the fan scenarios of Armageddon, what they call it, the apocalypse and stuff like that. So that's where the founder of CrossFit, that's why he did it. He's like, if somebody attacks the mainland of North America, we're out of luck. Mm-hmm. Like half of our population won't be able to defend themselves. So he started CrossFit. He was an ex-military guy. So if somebody comes in here with a club, or if it's like a Red Dawn and people, the United States is invaded, you're going to have those guys that did all that cardio work. They're going to start running, but then when they have to sprint, they're going to fall out.
Yeah.
But the people that have trained for power and done resistance type training, they're going to be able to run, jump over a fence, pull something off of a loved one, etc.
Right.
So there's a difference, in the benefit of doing both.
Right.
You got to do cardio. There's nothing wrong with cardiovascular training, but to increase the size of your gas tank, but you have to increase your power and your ability to accelerate for whatever reason.
Right.
For whatever scenario you could possibly imagine, you got to be able to sprint and repeat sprint and sprint and sprint.
And you talk about benefits, right? Not only is that a benefit, right, for you to be able to protect yourself, defend yourself, do if shit hit the fan, right? Another benefit of weight training and resistance training and strength training is it increases, not only does it increase your heart rate, but testosterone goes up, you are healthier, you're able to, your metabolism goes up, all of these other
Increased
things.
bone density for older people.
So by doing all of these things, that means you age better.
Yes.
You're able to sustain the type of lifestyle that you've grown accustomed to at a younger age. Is that correct?
Yes. So just for people who are depressed, people who are anxious, people who nervous eating, there's so many benefits from exercise, and you really don't have to exercise. In fact, research has shown that you need a minimum of 40 to 45 minutes a day of some type of activity. But research has shown that 4 bouts of 10 to 12 minutes is just as beneficial as 40 consecutive minutes.
Don't tell my wife.
Yeah, so that's right down Lloyd's alley. So, yeah. So it's important. It is, yeah. There are so many benefits for fitness and strength training than just looking in the mirror.
Right.
And like for longevity, strength training is one of the most important things you can do for longevity, for living longer. If you listen to Peter Attia or Andrew Huberman, they both talk about it all the time, about how important it is. Like deadlifting, one of the things that they recommend above all else is deadlifting because of what it does for your lower body and your spine.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's in the country, there's this saying that when you take to the couch, the end is near. And so when old people take to the couch, the end is near. You stop moving. Mm-hmm. And you're one thing, Harvard did a study on gait. They did a gait analysis of people who are aging populations. And one of the most apparent things that had the highest correlation to anything was an elderly person's gait when they walked. And the shorter and slower and the more you shuffle your feet, the shorter your lifespan. But the people, yes, the faster you walk and the less you shuffle your feet and the shorter your ground contact time is while walking, the longer you live. There is a direct correlation.
So before I let you get out of here because this was a long session.
Hey,
this
we
is
can
great.
go. We can go.
So,
sorry about that. Sorry, Lloyd.
I grew up in.
No, I've got a question for you after he's done.
I grew up
from the chat.
I grew up in Lafayette.
Yes.
Right.
A lot of walking.
Red Laurel's is
The Mecca.
The Mecca.
It
right?
is.
Like, I mean,
it really is.
And he's done a really. Mr. Red, Mr. Universe, or no, Mr. America.
Mr. America.
He didn't win Mr. Universe. Mr. America. He is 87 years old right now. He can still work a full 12-hour workday.
Yeah.
And still in really good shape, and that is a direct correlation to exactly what you just said.
And infamous for riding the bike. He's big cyclist. So anybody in the not strength and conditioning industry, but in the health and fitness industry, they know Red Laurel.
He's awesome.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. When you worked out there, did you work out downstairs or upstairs?
Well, so when I was younger, when I got to the age that you could.
I do.
When you got to the age, whenever you got to that 15, 16, you're like, okay, I'm finally old enough to. You worked out downstairs because you wanted to eat where people could see you. Then they started having different weight rooms, and then I went upstairs a little bit, and then they created a.
I don't want to. That's excuses, man.
Then they created like a half.
That's all I needed to hear.
Like a 30-yard turf indoor with all the other weight, and then we started working out there. And so now, when I do go back, it's there or downstairs. Now I'm like, I'm comfortable enough.
Come on, man, you got to go downstairs.
A lot of times downstairs, it's
That's my number one question to people that say they work out at Reds. I'll say, you work out upstairs or down? No, like, come on,
Where's
man.
the Stairmaster?
Come on,
listen,
man.
Now, sometimes it's hard to get the barbells and the dumbbells because you got a lot of people in there.
They got some big dudes.
You got some big dudes in
I
there.
got a couple games of pickup basketball in there, too.
Yeah,
man.
no doubt. Great pickup basketball. The crazy thing is, this was actually one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me at Reds. So the the Cajun Dome hosts a lot of WWE wrestling. And I was in college.
Oh, I kind of remember.
In December. And we're going through the program. Okay, it's clean day, it's weight, it's squats, all the stuff. So I go downstairs into that back corner room where the racks are.
Yeah.
I'm getting after it. You have the bumpers, you have the whole deal. I go in there, and I'm squatting, and it's like, hey, it's a heavy day. Like I gotta get up close to my max. I'm cleaning, I'm squatting, and I had just finished. And so I'm sitting on the bench. I'm like trying to catch my breath before I unrack everything. Next thing I know, I look up, and it's this monster of a human being.
John Cena?
John Cena.
I know.
Right next to me, he goes, hey, are you using that? I said,
Nah, dog, it's yours.
Hey, big cleaner, big squatter, big bencher.
Huge.
I knew you were going to say John Cena.
I remember when that.
Right next to me,
remember
I'm
that.
like, and I had no idea he was going there. I was trying to get my work. I'm
Serious
like,
weightlifter.
God. Unbelievable.
Serious.
And like, nice dude, obviously. I mean,
Super nice.
But he's enormous.
Yes, big time weightlifter,
Yeah.
snatch, clean, jerks.
He wears headbands
Like
on
he
his
is not
biceps.
a bodybuilder.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
asked me, I
no,
said,
a
you
lot
got
of
whatever you want,
functional
sir."
strength. A lot of functional strength in that body. That was
No
not
doubt.
ego pump up stuff.
Was he wearing jean shorts?
Oh yeah, he did.
Really?
He did. He was wearing them.
He was
Well,
in
he
the
was
uni.
With a cutoff shirt.
He was in
uni.
character. He
Yeah.
was in character.
Surprised you saw him.
Huh? Oh yeah, you got me over my head.
But we did
If-
have.
oh, yeah, you
go
have a
ahead.
question, you have a question,
Yeah, we
you
had
have
one
a
question in the chat. They were obviously talking about Moffitt method. So people are going to wanting to sign up, and then they were asking if there was a meal plan attached to it. I don't know if we've touched on that before, but
Okay,
just because.
great question. All right, great question.
Thank you. Hell yeah.
So,
Well, it wasn't your question.
Yeah.
It was the chat's question. It's a cheat by you.
yeah. All right.
Still some
So,
answers.
all right. Technically, because we are not licensed dietitians, we cannot give nutritional advice. All right. So there's a disclaimer to that, but we can make recommendations. Okay. But as
You can
part
tell
of
them what to eat, but you can't give them what to eat.
correct, because that's a disclaimer.
Right.
Because if we were to, I mean, everybody understand. I mean, we just had an attorney on here.
All right.
So-
you gotta dot your T's and cross your I's.
Yeah. So there's a disclaimer there. So that's a great question. But yes, we can't give advice, but we can make some recommendations on what a person should eat or shouldn't eat. And that's low sugar, high protein.
Yep.
I mean, that's
And nowadays, and here's something. This is something
Never
that
eaten a
I've
vegetable in my life, Coach. All
we can
protein.
tell, Lloyd.
And
don't
here's
have
the
to tell
crazy
us,
thing.
Lloyd, we
here's-
know.
Now with social media and Instagram
No
and all
kidding.
these types of things, and this is what I've started doing. Like it's some people say, well, eating healthy is like doesn't taste good, blah blah blah. Well,
Ooh.
you go on Instagram and you can find some of these like guys who are cooking food, and they basically break it down for you, give you recipes. They're
Macros.
yeah, say, hey, this is all protein. It's 400 calories, but you get this many grams of protein, and it tastes good. And it shows you different ways to do it. So if you're not a guy who knows how to cook or someone who really understands how to do it, there's other ways you can do it. It's not just, hey, you have to get a cookbook and look at it. You can actually see videos of some of these guys doing it, and some of them are obviously you can tell if they're reputable or not by their following and kind of their background, those types of things. Do a little research.
Here's the thing about food that a lot of people don't understand. They think that they have to restrict themselves of calories in order to lose weight.
Yes.
And all that does is slow down your metabolism.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you a case in point. We were at an engagement party for a family friend this weekend, and this lady, I found out she was 43 years old. She walks by, and I mean, she was yoked, thin.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
like cut up.
I'm like,
Good case.
everybody in the place knew that she was a lifter.
Right.
So they had one of those little booths where you go take pictures and stuff. So Jill and I were over there taking pictures. And I turned around and she was standing behind us. And so she said, she introduced herself. Hello, and of course she called me Coach Moffitt.
Right.
She could have said Tommy, but she goes, hello, Coach Moffitt, I'm so-and-so. And I was like, where do you work out at? First word out of my mouth. She goes, well, I'm a personal trainer. Or she hates the word personal trainer. She said, I'm a fitness coach. And I work at a facility. I train people. I train teams. So we talked for a while. Here's what she told me. She told me that she has to eat 3,500 calories a day to maintain her weight.
Wow.
She said, I work out. She goes, I don't even do cardio. Mm-hmm. She said, if I run a mile, I lose weight. And it takes me everything I can eat everything that you put in front of me just so I don't look skinny.
Yep.
And she was as fit as she could possibly be. She does zero cardio. all she does is lift weights.
And disclaimer to what that, right? That I 100% agree. I'm glad you said that because that is it kind of ties everything that we've talked about together. That doesn't happen working out for a week or two.
Oh, no.
Like that is a
Lifestyle.
It's a compound interest type thing, right? Like, hey, you do it for 1 week, you do it for 2 weeks, you do it for 3 weeks. Okay, after 4 weeks, just really start to feel good. 2 months, you're at 3 months. Okay, now you're starting to feel. Okay, now you're seeing the results. You're seeing, hey, I can eat, I can do this, I can. It doesn't. You can't say, oh, I worked out for 2 days, heavy weights. Let me just go and house a bunch of food. Like, it doesn't really work that way.
No.
It doesn't.
All right. At the Moffitt method, we talk about 3 days, 3 months, 3 years. And I think I talked about that the first time I was on here.
You did.
You do anything for 3 days, you're going to be sore as you can be. You have that sense of accomplishment. I'm on a program. You do it for 3 months, you start seeing some results, man. But the real thing is long-term physical development, and that takes 3 years. And some people aren't that patient.
Right.
But the benefits that you get from long-term development far outweigh anything else. Like there's nothing that you'll ever do that is more valuable for your quality of life and your
mental health.
Yeah, mental health. Self-esteem. All of that.
Such a satisfying.
Yeah.
And when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, damn, I feel good. I look good. Like that's a big thing.
It's a big thing when you get to a spot where you worked for it, one, but two, you don't have to restrict somewhat of a lifestyle.
Right. Exactly.
And you can still feel good about the way you look and feel.
Especially when you go talk to your peers and they look at you and you're like, damn.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't look like them. I look,
You see somebody you haven't seen in 3 years, and they go, damn, you look good, man. You're like, that's better than looking at yourself in the mirror, because every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, damn.
I look like shit.
3 years?
Yeah. But people will look at you and say, damn, man, you look good. And you're like, thank you. So it pays off. It pays off big.
If you're interested, which we have, obviously some people are interested,
Call us, man.
Give
us a chance. That's all we want.
A chance.
Give us a chance. TheMoffittMethod.fit or email us at info@themoffittmethod.fit.
Dude, I'm telling you, listen, we did it for a long time in our lives. I am getting back on it, and makes a big difference.
It's legit.
And it's great.
Like, this is not some cookie cutter type.
And look,
program.
Here's the deal. It's easier for me to motivate myself in the morning and go, hey, I'm going to go lift weights than say, I got to go out and run 2 miles today. That's a lot easier for me to go motivate myself to do weights than as opposed to run.
All right, now, and I know we've been on here a while.
Yep.
I got to tell you I saw this documentary. And it's called Just 1 Mile. It's a documentary about Chad Wright. Anybody know Chad Wright? Mm-mm. All right, it's called the Mid-State Mile. It's a race in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. The documentary is just 1 mile. Yeah, where I'm from.
Not West Virginia.
Hey, not West Virginia. You ticked me off, Lloyd.
That was him. That was Mikey.
That was me.
All right, so, yeah, great documentary. Great documentary. Highly motivating. It's phenomenal. So check it out. Just 1 mile.
Just 1 mile.
Amazon Prime. Rent it, $3.99, and you'll have money left over to buy the Moffitt method.
There you go.
And then you supersize me.
There you go.
Oh, no. Easy over there with that. As always, we look forward to the Moffitt Method Mondays. I'm so happy and grateful that you've accepted this invitation to come in every Monday.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm learning a lot. Obviously, hopefully a lot of people that listen to us are learning a lot. And hopefully you're enjoying doing it because we're enjoying doing it. Having you on
I love it. I was cooking, I was like a chef tonight, man, because Jill was, coming home late, and I'm whipping some stuff up, and I was looking at my watch. You got in here.
Perfect
timing.
Perfect. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you guys. It's fun. It's fun.
Great. That's what we aim for. We'll see you next Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
And I'll send you some text throughout the week and tell you how sore I am.
Selfies, yeah.
Good deal. Good
and
deal.
if you need a licensed dietitian coach, my cousin is one. So watch out if you need help.
Coach, I appreciate you.
All right, guys, y'all be good.
Yep,
Appreciate
you too.
it.
You too. Enjoy your week.
Yes, y'all have a great one.
Boy, that was As educational as you can get right there.
Flu.
Look, I had this newfound like I've always enjoyed working out, but I really am I wake up, I'm like look forward to go work
Get
out.
crushed, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
part
I
of it.
like that. Well, we had a lot that we wanted to get to.
There is nothing
We-
worse than looking in the mirror.
We got for you maybe. We got a lot.
Depends.
We got a lot of conversation right there. Obviously, we have a lot more we want to talk about with the LSU on Wednesday. It's Ask Mikey and Mitch on Wednesdays, but we're gonna add Bryce Kuhn, who is a writer for 247. He covers LSU. Obviously, as he's very in tune with the portal, in tune with the recruiting arena. And early signing day is Friday. The portal opened up today. So there's a lot of stuff happening. He is going to be in here on Wednesday with us for the Ask Mikey and Mitch segment. So if you have questions, put them on Twitter, Instagram, or watch the show and put them in on the chat. And we're going to get to as many as we can get to while he's in early on in the show. So
And we may have a guest.
we may have another guest. We're lining up some really stuff. Look, football season
Thank you.
is over. Thank you, football season. We're looking
Now it's
forward
time
to
to
the
cook.
other sport.
Let him cook.
Let them cook, baby.
Baseball show.
Baseball now it turns into a baseball
Oh
show.
yeah, didn't know anything about Jaden Daniels.
Nothing.
Now we have our seggies.
Yes, we
Do
do.
you have one?
I do.
Mistake of the day is brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place. What we got today, Lloyd?
This was something that popped up during the Saints game. Alvin Kamara took a double look at it, but we've been saying this a while. Where Dozy Place brought to you by Dozy Place. Mistake of the day, excuse me.
Dozy
is brought to you by Dozy
Yeah,
Place.
I'm glad they are brought to you by themselves.
But maybe this man had had a steak. Maybe this wouldn't have happened.
Damn, you're gonna show this?
Yep.
I'm not watching it.
But this is what we said. There's
Yeah,
a
I saw
lot.
this live. It was not good.
I mean, we got to get some of these
I was in the
older
Book of Mormon
folks
when
out of
this
here.
It was not good.
I think it just is out of socket.
He did dislocate his knee, but he broke his fibula too,
It was not
or
good.
tibia.
We just got to get some of these older people out of here. I'm sorry.
I
I
don't
mean, it's a
think
fun. It
old,
was a
young,
fun
anything.
game
He
for a
had-
while.
I feel
Ugh.
bad for that man.
I think he's fine.
I also feel bad for the Saints because they stink.
Yeah.
Stink. Like,
I feel bad for the people running the show because
I mean, they at this point, and I'm not gonna get into this whole. I guess it was would diatribe be the word?
Yep.
I don't want to get into that right now because we have a lot to talk about on Wednesday. But at this point, and I'm not one. We've talked about this. I am not one to call for heads and hey, you got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them. You got.
I am.
At this point, man, this is a bad. When players are being asked, hey, what do you feel about the booth? Is it warranted? And they're not saying no, or they are laughing at it or trying to
Whatever.
not
you're-
answer it. That's not.
You
good.
can also tell too. There's a lot of disconnect in the building.
100%.
Listen, I'm not gonna. It's hard for me to sit here and say, assuming I didn't talk to anyone. I don't know anything of what's going on in that building. But if you watch the game and you saw, so Kamara scored a touchdown. That next touchdown would have made him the leading touchdown guy, whatever, in Saints history. Seemed to me, after Taysom scored the touchdown, Kamara was like, I can't believe we had the ball on the 1 yard line
You didn't let me get
and
that.
you didn't put me back in the game.
Right.
So after that, it almost seemed like he ran even more pissed off.
Right.
Like it literally seemed like there was an attitude about everything. Because if you remember, the second touchdown he scored, he spiked the ball right there
Yeah.
like as if it was like he was
Right.
pissed off.
Right.
And I'm like, it seems to me that there's a lot of people that's not meshing right,
Right.
now
And here's-
about what's going on.
And here's the other deal. It doesn't look like the players are playing hard for Dennis Allen anymore.
Michael Thomas is live tweeting every game.
Right? Michael Thomas is doing. I mean, he's a 1 year deal. I think he's done. He's obviously done at the end of this year, right? Yeah.
Be a Bronco.
The players feel like they aren't really bought into that staff anymore, and if that's the case, you got to get rid of them sooner rather than later so that you don't lose the entire culture that was built for this long period of time, right? Because for a while, the things you heard about New Orleans is that locker
Culture.
room and that clubhouse was sacred. You never heard anything
that
come
building.
out of it.
If you got in that building, it was
That
special.
building was special. You didn't feel like you had the disconnect that you have now, right? Obviously, now look, the saving grace for Dennis Allen was the defense was playing really well. They're not playing as well as they were at the
They don't
beginning of
seem
the
bought
season,
in.
right? Like, hey, they gave up 21 points in the first 8 minutes. They played really well. Then at the end of the game, boom, they give up
Give
more
right back.
points, right? So like, they are not, and it's not. I don't think it's the talent because I think they're very talented. Now you lose Lattimore, I don't think any of that matters. You've had these guys off the field before and they played really high level. They're not, and the offense is playing even worse. So at that point, I think they need to be gone. Like I said, I don't want to get into the dive shop. We're going to talk a lot more about it on Wednesday. But you brought it up with the mistake of the day. That is bad. Get them out the way. You have to be able to defend yourself from the mistake of the day. You have to be able to jump out the way so your leg doesn't get broken.
Well, at least he got to leave early.
You're right. You're right. You didn't see the end of it.
On 2 feet.
All right, curtain calls. Brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners.
And
Me. What we got, Lloyd?
I have my curtain call, and this was from earlier in the week. I believe it was Thursday or Friday. Jordan Spieth had his best friend on the bag, and they made a bet of how many shots he was under par. He had to drink a beer for each one, and it seemed like they started to talk about it a little bit during the round because Jordan Spieth went absolutely haywire. This is the most Spieth scorecard of all time, but for every shot he was under par, you have to drink a beer. He goes eagle, birdie, double, bogey, birdie, bogey,
Jesus.
birdie, birdie,
What an interesting scorecard.
birdie, eagle, birdie to finish it out. So you do the math. Your boy had to get hammered.
Yep.
That's about 15 beers.
Yep.
So
That's tough.
you always love to have as somebody that has had to be the friend on the bag that's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm happy to help. I would have loved this. Nice. Now, don't expect to see me tomorrow. Gotta walk these calories off.
You got one?
I'm going to give it to the offensive trio at LSU this year. Obviously, Jaden is going to be a part of the Heisman presentation. We all here in this building right now are for sure expecting him to win. So there may be another curtain call that he's involved in. But I want to give it to him. I want to also give it to Malik, who also absolutely showed up and showed out and should be a part of a huge award ceremony for the, Biletnikoff, maybe even possibly to Maxwell. I don't really know because I don't know if they've come out with those finalists yet. But also, Brian Thomas, right? These are two guys that I know at the beginning of the year that I said, I think they're really good.
Yep.
I'm just not sure how good, and they've gone above and beyond any of that. And all three of them together, along with that entire side of the offense, played really well all year. So I want to give a curtain call to Jaden and the other two of that trio, obviously specifically. But
And Mike Denbrock is at the award ceremony for the Broyles Award.
Yep, and the whole offensive line.
There you go.
Like, you got a lot of things potentially happen.
So I want to, curtain call all those guys because they did some pretty special things on offense this year.
Love that. My curtain call is to, and not the structure of it, and not necessarily the people that are part of it, but the results of the college football playoff.
Oh.
Because they had enough nuts to make mostly the right decision,
As
right?
right as possible.
They could have been easily said, okay, hey, Texas won, Florida State won the ACC, and everybody hates the SEC right now. We can keep them out, and you could maybe have a little bit of argument, and that would be the easy way. But instead, they looked at it and said, okay, we believe that these are the four best teams. Well, mostly.
98%
four best teams.
of
I
it
think
was
if they
right.
really, if you were in the back room, I think Georgia was in that four.
And what?
But they couldn't have
They
put
couldn't.
both.
You can't kick out two.
Yeah, they couldn't kick out two, so they said, okay, we're going to put the SEC champ in. And they had enough nuts to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm not saying it was the perfect decision. I'm not saying that Florida State doesn't have the right to be upset. I'm not saying Georgia doesn't have the right to be upset. But I'm saying that they made a decision that was, they knew they were going to get some backlash, and they decided to do it anyway because they knew at the end of the day, the one-loss Alabama SEC champion, whether it be Alabama or Georgia, whichever one had one loss, and they won the championship, they deserve to be in that Final Four, and they made that decision. So that's my curtain call because that's a tough one. I'm very happy that we're going to 12 teams next year.
And then 16. And then.
You know what's funny about the 12-team situation, which is it's still going to be an absolute mess? If it was 12 teams this year, there's one Louisiana team that gets in over LSU.
Nope. Tulane lost.
They lost.
Oh, they did lose a championship game. You're right.
So Liberty would have got in instead.
But they would have been slated to go
Yep.
in going through that game.
LSU would have been a 12th team, a 12th ranked team in the top 25, but not been able to make it because the top ranked group of 5 team would have made it, and that would have been Liberty.
At-large bid.
Huh?
Like an at-large bid.
Yeah, right.
And then and then Tulane loses their coach to Houston. Willie Fritz off to, I guess, greener pastures.
He wants to go. He wants to coach in the Power 5.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He wants to do it in the Power 5 is what he said. we appreciate the support. We appreciate you tuning in. Please tune in again live on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. We are going to have Bryce Kuhn coming in talking all things recruiting, all things transfer portal. It's Ask Mikey and Mitch. We hopefully will have some other guests that we will make known here soon once they confirm. And we'll have a lot more interesting conversations. But we appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Subscribe.
And please subscribe. We're 15 away from 5K. We're making some push. We want to get to 5K before the end of the year, right? Before January 1, which I think is very reasonable. And then I want to see a huge jump during baseball season. That's the next one we got to make, a huge jump. We'll figure that out. Huge. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.
See you.
Bye.